Hey, normalcy is returned. I'm back. I don't know for how long though. Last week's show was pretty damn.
Wait. You call you being back normal?
Well, I don't know how long I'll be back for. Seems everybody enjoyed the absentee John and the fill in for me.
We had a good time with Clayton.
Yeah, great show last week, guys. I was surprised to see Clayton on, but I told you do your own show, and sure as snot, you guys did. So I will compliment you, and I have no problem taking vacations now in the future.
Vacations.
We didn't sink the ship
yet. Oh, sorry.
So,
how's it going, guys?
It's going. It's going.
Sometimes I still do.
Picked up the Mini, $1,458 later for engine mounts at 56,000 miles. That one's really rubbing me the wrong way because they put a new motor in the car at 19 and they failed to torque it properly. So the motor would move. So I went back at 20,000 miles and they torqued it properly. And at 21,000 miles, I wore out my front tires because they didn't align it after they put the motor in it. And now I've got the replacement tires are still on it at 56,000 miles with decent tread. But I had to put motor mounts in it. I didn't let the BMW dealership do it. I let a good friend of mine, Alan, and Empire Auto House handle the work. They were a little bit cheaper than the BMW dealership. And frankly, he's going to start seeing my car more and more because our local BMW dealership stopped servicing Minis. I think their contract was actually up July 1st. So that's what's up for me.
Sounds like somebody needs to walk away from the BMW dealership. But hey, if they stopped servicing Minis, then no worries.
They walked away from you.
Alan's a really good guy. We differ on some opinions, but Alan and I have known each other for 15 years, and I actually did some wrenching for him part-time back in, I had my F-150, so it had to be around 2012. So I had that.
This is the good thing about, we always joke about John having owned so many cars.
It works as a dating system.
It's basically just his dating system. It's like, okay, let's see. I was driving the truck, so that was 2012. I can't do that. I mean, I've owned a few cars, but I can't do it. I haven't owned enough to be able to go, well, I only owned it that year, so I can date the year.
I think our regular listeners know John tells time one of two ways: the car or the woman.
I haven't heard the lore of the ladies enough to be able to date your relationships. So that would be a unique to you dating situation.
They usually give a multiple year span. The cars narrow it down to usually 1 year up until recently. I mean, I've owned the Mini since 2020 now. Actually, I bought it late July in 2020, so I've owned that car 5 years.
I can kind of do that because, like, for example, I drove Addie to preschool in my Rambler, which means that it had to be like 2013 because I only owned that car for a year, and she loved going to school in that car because it had bench seats and no seat belts and a 3 on the tree, and it was just totally alien compared to everything else she was driving in, and especially since with no seat belts meant no car seat, and a preschooler getting to drive in a car and with no car seat is just beside herself with joy. And so yeah, also Jasper was in kindergarten because I got stuck in the snow a block from his elementary school, and I'm trying to rock it out. I'm in the middle of this intersection, like they hadn't plowed this side street of the city. I'm trying to rock it out. He kind of turns to me and goes, "Well, maybe, Dad, this is why people like front wheel drive." And I said, "How would you like to get out and walk home?" He's always been calling.
Would that have been in Bay City?
That was in Bay City, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. if you know the old Farragut Elementary School, was this big Art Deco building. We went to that around that time. And yeah, it's in the middle of otherwise a residential area, you know. And like Detroit, it was one of those deals where the people on the blocks originally took care of their own street clearing, and as you know, absentee landlordism has become a factor, and just empty buildings has become a factor. The streets don't get cleared like they used to, except the main thoroughfares. And I was probably trying to be clever and avoid all the traffic, and turned down a side street, and then somehow lost my momentum. But normally that Rambler went pretty much anywhere with snow tires on it, even though I didn't put any weight in the trunk. But that particular day, it was defeated. Oh, nearly defeated. I did get it out.
That's the one thing I do miss about being back in Michigan or in the north is, you know, going my speedometer going 60 to 70 miles an hour while I'm going like 10 in the winter.
I think I probably had it like up to an indicated 60. I know with that Rambler, I wasn't afraid of breaking it because it just simply wouldn't rev high enough to hurt itself. So you could just flatten the throttle forward and reverse, and so I did. I rocked it out. I was like, this is illustrative, son. Pay attention, you know. And of course, we've never ever encountered that again because I don't know. I don't go in situations like that because I know better, because I'm 10 years older than I was.
Because you've learned your lesson.
Yeah. I do. I loved that Rambler though. That was a swell beater. I paid
A nice car.
$750 for that car, and I sold it for $900, which sounds like a great deal, except I put $500 into it or so, putting a record radiator into it and some other things. And then like 2 days before I sold it, one of the springs broke through its mount, but neither I nor the guy that bought it noticed it until a couple of days after. And he said, I'm not worried about it for what I paid. I just wanted it as a parts car. So it's probably still sitting in his barn in Bay City waiting to be used as a donor, because it was absolutely complete cream puff 36,000 mile Rambler with the quarters just gone, because it had been this lady's only car from 1964 until she died in 83. And then it sat in a barn and kind of continued to rust, I think, all that time. But boy, it was a lot of fun. I would recommend, if you should find one, a flathead 64 Rambler is so choice. Even had a radio delete plate, neat little mid-century stamped piece of aluminum.
Radio delete. How would you have listened to your music?
Well, probably the same way I do now, which is I have an iPhone sitting in my pocket, not an iPhone, a smartphone sitting in my pocket with the speaker aimed up my ear. Actually, no, being a bit of an audiophile, I have usually devised ways to listen to my modern music through the vintage radio when I can. So my Corvair right now has a Ready Rad, which I sadly think is out of production, but it's this neat little doohickey. It's a black box, and when one end of it plugs into your antenna jack on your radio, so as long as it's got that standard antenna jack that they've used since, I don't know, the 40s, and the other end plugs into your antenna, but there's another wire that comes out of this box, and when you connect into it, it overrides the antenna signal and puts whatever signal you want into that antenna circuit on your original AM radio. So originally the idea was it had the standard the headphone jack that Steve Jobs eliminated, and thus everybody followed suit. But you could just plug it into the early iPads or iPods and smartphones and listen to your downloads, or now it would be Spotify. Now you'd have to plug it into a Bluetooth receiver, which is a thing. And do the same deal, which of course sucks your phone battery down while it's doing it. But still, it's great to be able to turn on the radio in your 62 Corvair and get, you know, the Telstar or the Beach Boys or whatever right on demand, and have period appropriate driving tunes coming out of your period appropriate radio. It's got that nice warm hum like Vintage Electronics doing that mono speaker and all that deal. And I think I didn't manage to do it in my Studebaker, but I really wanted to. In my original Falcon, my 61, and then I transferred that radio to the 62, I had a hardwired jack into the amp, which is a really straightforward way to do it if you're not afraid of soldering and can read a circuit diagram. I had that professionally done, but I have a spare Corvair radio around here that I was going to do it too until I got the Ready Rad. And I might transfer the Ready Rad to the Cadillac because I have to replace the antenna in that anyway because the motor on the power antenna broke. So there's been no tunes at all in that for a while, which is sad because driving around in your 83 Cadillac, you really should be able to listen to like the Eurythmics or something.
I was going to say Prince.
Well, you obviously are not an iPhone user because Steve Jobs did not eliminate the headphone jack. That was the guy there now because the headphone jack was eliminated in 2016 and Steve left us in 2012.
Oh, okay. Well, still, I was not a fan of Apple even before Steve Jobs died. So I was not. It was on brand for them to do something like that even after he was gone.
But Derek did the transition because while we've tried to do various topics the past few weeks and chop it up into little segments, Derek and I have talked since the Will days about doing an episode a little bit about cars and music. And it's hard to do because we can't play music on the show. We can, but we get sued. And then we'd go away and you would lose our beautiful faces and commentary every week. Unless, of course, you can do that from prison. I don't know. Can you podcast from prison? But
I've never watched one from prison.
But I was buzzing along.
They'd probably cut like 62 seconds out of our clips. So,
oh God,
sorry.
Where'd Derek go? Yeah,
I was driving a lot the last week or so. Had to go back to Illinois for reasons and came back. So that's 20 hours in a car, 22 hours, whatever, plus all my additional driving. And then yesterday morning I was driving along and for some reason I said to myself, I think I have Apple Music still for free. I might be paying for it. I don't know. I remember because I wanted to create a ringtone and I had to get Apple Music to get the song and create the ringtone. The theme to Mobland. I can't remember what the group is in case you're curious. And I said, well, I want to listen to Ozzy because he's kind of been in the news the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And this is what drove the topic. And my idea is I think Ozzy and Dave and Derek are a little bit beyond me. So this is this could have potentially already happened to them. I don't know if it's ever happened to me in that Ozzy was probably one of the biggest players from my day, high school days, where we form our opinions of music and cars and everything, to really die. I mean, we've had other artists from that era pass away. Prince passed away, but he's just multi-generational and that. But Ozzy kind of hit me. And Ozzy kind of hit me the way I said to Brandy the day he passed, that I think of him because I always want the next song or the next music from him. And it's the same way with Prince. And they were great driving things. So I popped on some Ozzy, and it's just, to me, Ozzy's one of the great driving artists behind music, and he's great to drive too. So that's how I came up and I said, I'm going to do this. I want to do this topic. We need to talk music. So it's a little bit of a tribute to the Oz man and everything. And he had such impact on so many artists, from Motley Crue to, Metallica opened for him. And when Lollapalooza snubbed Ozzy and Ozzy started Ozfest, he brought all these other groups in that he supported when they were young. They supported him when he was old. So that's where this came from. It's a little bit more emotional than anything. I don't know where we're going to go from there, but Crazy Babies and that's one of my favorite driving songs. So that's where it came from. That's why we're doing this tonight, guys. I kind of threw it at you and you go, we normally do multiple topics, but let's talk music. And I kind of want to keep it a little bit positive. We have our bitches and we've bitched before, but if we get into them, we get into them. But there's where I'm at. I'll shut up for a minute or two and let you guys guide the show from there.
Well, the first thing that jumped to my mind when you said that, that Ozzy was kind of a formative for you in your generation, and I think, and probably I'm going to put words in Dave's mouth here too, because I don't think I ever had that, oddly, because I grew up and a lot of my music of choice was more oldies. What we called oldies when I was a kid, the oldies station. Uh, and, listening to, you know, I mean, basically music of my parents' generation when they were kids, 50s, 60s era. I was really into that as a younger kid. I mean, I still am. I still listen to a lot of that, and actually a lot earlier stuff now. I also was in band. I play trombone and low brass. I was in jazz band, listened to a lot of jazz. And so, for me, it's kind of like, yeah, was there music, contemporary pop music that I listened to when I was growing up? And of course, I grew up in a large rural area on a farm. So country music was big too. And but I think that's one of the I like music and I enjoy music. And actually, when I got to college, my understanding of pop music and popular music and especially indie music was blown wide open because I grew up in such a rural area. I did not know so many indie bands that are I just incredible, and I still listen to today and look for new music from them and new indie bands and all of that. And so for me it's weird because so much of my childhood was growing up with my parents' music essentially, or what they would have heard when they were kids. And of course a lot of that being driven also by going to the car cruises as a kid and listening to the Beach Boys and the Del Vikings and rattle off all those names from that period. So and I think Dave, I mean, having known Dave as long as I have in college, we met when we were like 18, 19 years old. We were, I think, somewhat kindred in that aspect of music, I think. Would you agree, Dave, or not?
Yeah, no, I think your experience and mine are fairly close, that I had a pretty retro music taste until the end of high school. I sort of started to get into more modern pop music, Blink-182 and Sum 41 and stuff, like when I was in college. So that was a kind of a bigger opening up for me. But yeah, that and then since then I've gone quite far backward in my interest. Like I really love like interwar blues music, and but I grew up in a very music centric household. I mean, my dad was a car guy first, and a motorcycle sort of as a subset of that, but very closely second was an audiophile right from the beginning. I mean, he bought the Bristol Stomp in 1961, was his first record when he was a freshman in high school, and by the time he died, he had accumulated, like, just in vinyl, like probably a 12 by 12 square on the wall feet of records stood on end, because my dad was a one that would walk into a record store and go, oh, that's a cool album cover, I might have to buy this one. And sometimes he'd discover really cool music, and sometimes he'd just own a really cool album cover. But he had a great variety of stuff and taught me to kind of appreciate a lot of different stuff. And was Derek, did you take history of rock and roll at Central Michigan University like I did? I took it as a senior. It was like the last history credit I took.
Yeah, I did not. No, I didn't take that class because also, like, when I was at Central, I was not really yet a history major. That was those years that I was still doing chemistry.
Oh my gosh, I forgot you were a chemistry guy for a while.
Yeah, and I was just taking like one of the basic history classes where we met, that we ran into each other, and happenstance. So no, I
Yeah.
never took history of rock and roll. There were some people I knew back then that took that class. Dave, you probably remember that person, but uh,
That's sounding familiar to me now. Well, it's interesting because you and I met in the very first history class I took, which was a general history credit, big lecture hall.
Yep.
But no, history rock and roll was a very interesting class, and of course, cars and rock and roll go together from the beginning for cars. I mean, argue for rock and roll, because arguably the first rock and roll song is about a car, right? Rocket 88. But then, I mean, cars and songs go way back to, Billy Murray and In My Merry Oldsmobile. And then you've got the whole separate category of songs that may or may not be about cars, but are just really good to drive to. Like I mentioned Sum 41, and I can't listen to probably any Sum 41 anymore because it goes a little harder than I go as a 43-year-old. But I couldn't listen to their second album initially because I nearly wrecked my 68 Camaro convertible while listening to it because I was driving along at a fast clip in the rain, partially inspired by the music I was listening to, realized I was about to miss my turn, overcorrected, and ended up doing a big loop that just didn't hit anybody because there was nobody around. So it was, it kind of spoiled me to that. But yeah, I mean, one of my favorites to drive to and is about driving is Open Road Song by Eve Six. Everybody knows Eve Six is like the Heart in a Blender band, but Open Road Song, I mean, the guy's got great lyrical play, and it's the feeling you get driving along on a night with the windows down, kind of trying to cleanse your mind, maybe going a little faster than you ought to. And your car's probably not the greatest because he calls it his pile and talks about it as it shakes as he pushes the accelerator to the floor and stuff. But like, it's a very relatable song, and it's definitely got a good vibe for driving. And then at the other end of the spectrum, when I told my family we were doing this show tonight, they said, "Oh, you got to mention Beep Beep. You got to mention Beep Beep, the Little Nash Rambler song about the." And that's a great one because it starts out slow. They're talking about driving, and then the guy starts to want to pass him, and then they go faster, and then he gets insulted by the passing, and then they go faster, and then they go faster, and it's still going faster, and the guy passes him, and he's really humiliated. But yeah, no, that's a great one. And one of my coworkers utterly despises that song because they used to play it at the Hemmings Cruise Nights, and I'm pretty sure they never played it at the Hemmings Cruise Nights until my kids went and specifically requested it, and they went, "Oh, we forgot this song exists. We're going to play it every single cruise night from here on out." But having owned a Rambler, I think the kids were already kind of into it, and they loved the irony of the song, the little compact blowing off the expensive big car. And I never heard the Dr. Demento radio show, but I guess that's why that song kind of stayed in the popular consciousness. And as podcasters, that's sort of one of the predecessors to one of the people that blaze the trail for what we're doing, right?
Yeah, that I forgot about that. That song was really popular. I remember, I think my dad used to talk about that, the whole Dr. Demento thing, and whenever that song would come on, I feel like I remember there's something there that's like ringing that bell,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, crazy.
I remember the song. Unfortunately, Dr. Demento to me is Fish Heads. I think MTV, in the early days of MTV, did the 10 most disgusting songs. And Fish Heads by or played on Dr. Demento or by him. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads. Eat them up, yum. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny. That's another thing that I only know about secondhand. Like I can hear my classmates in high school singing that, and I know the song because of that, but I've never heard the original. So, but there I am, Dr. Demento secondhand.
Yeah.
I just tie so much between cars and music. We've talked about it many times on the show because I had the, performance car stereo that you could hear 2 miles away. With the bass, and it's my fault that we have stereo laws now, or I'm one of the instigators of that.
Yeah, thanks, John.
I can't hear well with my right ear because of it. Talked about a friend of mine from high school could only ride in my CRX on Friday night or Saturday night because his chest hurt too much after one night of cruising Main Street in that car to ride the second night. pulling up to Co-op Records and parking in the fire lane, going in and getting my stack of CDs because I got DJ pricing. I bought so much, and it was just it was a time, and I enjoy it. And I probably have never publicly, I guess, thanked this guy. I met him first day, sophomore year of high school. Name's Pat Drake, and lots of stories behind him. But first time he ever came over to my house, I had Madonna Like a Virgin on my record player. I only bought 33s. I never bought cassette tapes. And yes, back in the day when
cassette tape
everybody buys 33s again. And he said, kind of, what the heck's this? And he got me, he would wear the jean jacket with the Metallica logo on a patch on the back, and the other bands, and Bon Jovi, and he got me to kind of switch into that Ozzy, Metallica, Motley Crue, Megadeth, Anthrax, all those bands, which is a decade before. Dave's out here throwing Blink 182 and this and that. I'm going to tell you a freaking song any of those guys sung, much like I'm doing here. Interesting into the generations, but there were, anytime Kiss Heaven's on Fire would come on. Now, I only listened to CDs in my car, so it only came on like when I put that CD in the car. I didn't have a changer at that point in time. Actually, changers really weren't around. But Heaven's on Fire, that would come on, and instantly the foot goes to the floor, and you do some stupid things. I don't think I ever almost crashed because of music, but I mean, to me, it's just so visceral that the two go together. And like we were saying at the beginning of the show, John dates things with his cars. I can get a more specific sometimes, even into the cars, with what song or what was popular at the time. And, whether it was Mix-a-Lot or Derek kept doing Queen Under Pressure, and that brings back Vanilla Ice, and so many rock and roll songs integrate the cars into them. It's to me a weird melding, and you guys are better history buffs than I. Is there any other machinery or icon or that integrates into music in the past or even in the present? I mean, we don't have songs about Frank Lloyd Wright architecture. We don't have songs. I'm sure we have some songs about trains and planes.
Oh yeah, the railroad songs, especially in the 19th century.
I mean, John, you clearly don't listen to enough country music, because country music is not about your car. It's about your
trucks. Yeah.
Tractors more so.
Unless
tractors and
it's Mercury Blues by Alan Jackson. That's a car song.
That's a cover.
I guess if you're Canadian, it could be a truck song, but
that's a cover though.
It is. It's true. Okay, but does Western Swing count as country? Because then, like Archie Sibley, Hot Rod Race, those are cars. I mean, modern country, 21st century country is all about brodozers, but and 90s country was all about clapped out 60s, 70s pickup trucks. But
yeah.
But it wasn't always that way. But that's just there are things that you could say are about that culture, and you could say there are things that are about American culture at large. And as passenger cars are just not as romantic as they used to be. I mean, if you bought a V8 Ford in 1946, I mean, in some way you were buying sports car cachet. But if you go buy a standard Ford sedan today, or crossover, I guess, because they don't make a sedan, you're not thinking, gee, this is a Ford. It's hot. It's got a V8 or whatever. It's that reputation is now something you have to pay extra for by getting a Mustang or an F-150 or whatever.
That reputation, and this goes back to the conversation a few weeks ago. Toyota Camry TRDs and Hyundai Elantra N's and Iconic 6Ns, electric vehicles. with their performance. There's your performance. But do you really see? I could not tell you a single current songwriter. Oh, maybe Taylor Swift. Could you see Taylor Swift singing a rock and roll song about her Hyundai Elantra?
No, I can. I've already started lyrics for a TRD. Let's see.
I mean, there could be an unexplored niche here. I can't wait to see Derek.
Little TRD, you're really looking fine.
No, I think this has been done.
Now you guys
Ronnie and the Daytonas would like a word.
Now you're making me upset that I didn't. One of the things I was going to do when I came home from work is sign up for this AI that combines like 20 or 40 different AI large language models, and you could put an idea in for a song and it would give you back a song, which we could play. But I was going to put in our TRD song. We'll do it all. AI generated car songs about what kids are using now. They're 4-door Honda Civic SIs and their Elantra.
But really, I mean, it's interesting because, and Dave, I wish I probably had taken the history of rock and roll class at Central, but when I was at Eastern Michigan University, I minored in the history of technology. And so within that had an amazing professor. And we actually had a kind of one of the classes was somewhat basically technology in popular culture. So it looked at literature. She broke it down into thirds. There was a literature section, a movies section, and then music section. And at the end, or at the very end of the class, like the last couple of weeks, we were in the music part. And we went over a whole bunch. I mean, we started very early on with like, In My Merry Oldsmobile, the Chevrolet 6 song. I'm blanking on the full name of it. Riding in My Chevrolet 6. All those songs from back in the
Get Out and Get Under
20s. Get Out and Get Under, yeah. But also going up through, and one of the big discussions, of course, was around Chuck Berry's Maybelline, and is Maybelline a car, or is Maybelline the girl in the car?
No, Maybelline's the girl in the Coupe de Ville.
Listen to the lyrics, though. The way he sings it, it could be either. You really got to dive into the song. I encourage you to listen to it and really dive into the lyrics. But towards the end, she had everybody bring in a song that they felt had technology represented in it, right? Just to show the diversity of how technology in culture plays into music or movies or literature or whatever popular genre you're looking at of that, each of those. And it was really interesting because one person brought in a country song. I don't remember who sang it right now, but She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy, talking about it riding in the tractor because his girlfriend, that's the sexiest thing he can do is drive his tractor and plow the field.
The mechanization of agriculture has made me more appealing as a mate.
Henry Ford would be impressed.
If you want to mate with Henry Ford.
But interesting, like I didn't bring in a car song. I think everybody kind of thought, oh, Derek, the car guy that always talks about cars, right? He's going to bring in a car song, right? But I was like, we've already gone over Maybelline. We've already gone over, like, I want something different.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
No, I took in my song choice was Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead because it talks about plastic surgery and the advent of all plastics in our world.
The last good plastic was phenolic resin. Oh, we have comments, but they're too small for me to read. What's going on?
Jason, Gus Edwards, In My Merry Oldsmobile, composed in 1905, the earliest song to reference a specific car. I believe that is correct, yes.
Wait, are there earlier songs that mention cars in a more general sense?
Good question. We'll have to do some research.
Yeah, now I want to know, like, but and In My Merry Oldsmobile, we always skip over it. Everybody thinks it's like this sweet, innocent song. It's about going out in the park to make out with your girlfriend, and it's a bunch of innuendo. Like
it's all about freedom.
So is Take Me for a Buggy Ride. I mean, Take Me for a
Yeah.
Buggy Ride is by Bessie Smith is really like scandalous. Now, a lot of her songs are kind of scandalous, especially for the 30s. Like, not that the 30s were actually prudish. Like, a lot of historians say the 30s were a dry run for the 60s. But still, like, you know, the idea of picking up something that's a shellac 78 and finding this lady singing about how much she likes her boyfriend and going for rides in cars with him and a bunch of veiled innuendo in 1933, I think that song's from. I mean, is a big deal. And then Rocket 88's about booze cruising, going down to the corner and going to get a fifth, and everybody in my car is going to take a little nip. I mean, and then of course, street racing is not exactly a socially responsible hobby. I mean, it was maybe okay in pre-war California when the streets were empty, but by the 60s, when we're talking about shutdown, I mean, that's not about the strip where the road is wide. They're not talking about the drag strip. They're talking about some part of the cruising strip.
Yeah. My question is, did Gus Edwards did he have to eventually add the extra spring in the buggy springs in the Mary Olds? You have to wear them out a little too soon?
No, because
an extra leaf spring?
the end says that they're getting married, so then they don't have to go into the car anymore. They get their own house at that point.
Yeah, but he wore the springs out long before the wedding.
Oh well, the Curve Dash is a durable automobile.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I think it is like, you know, going back. I mean, not to diverge too much from the music section of this, but I guess it really doesn't diverge. Technology plays such a big part in our culture and lives, you know, that it just naturally works its way into music. Because I also think that there are car songs, right? Little GTO. I'm going to blank on half of them right now because I'm trying to talk about them, but I can't. But, you know,
Hey, Little Cobra, 409.
Yeah, Little Cobra,
The
409.
little lady from Pasadena, Dead Man's
Thank
Curve.
you.
Yeah.
You look like you're reading off a sheet that you pulled up. You keep.
I know
looking
it's my playlist called Car and Driver
playlist.
Greatest Car
There you go.
Songs.
Look at that. He brought it up. So I think there's car songs, but then there's songs that just mention cars, right? So there's the actual like car songs out there, but then we can always find other songs that exist.
Counting Blue Cars.
Yeah, just have cars mentioned in them. You know, Little Red Corvette, Jason brought up, lest we not forget the greatest car song ever, Little Red Corvette. If you don't know what Little Red Corvette is about, go ahead and do the research about what the song Little Red Corvette is.
It's about the same thing. Every Prince
every
song
car song is about, and every Prince song is about. Yeah.
But there's actually a whole backstory, like, and Prince had backstories and everything, but there's actually a very interesting backstory to Little Red Corvette that Prince told in an interview. I don't remember which interview it was, but I found it fascinating about kind of what led him to write the song, and it was very interesting.
You know the song Hot Rod Race. I mean, the song Hot Rod Lincoln is a sequel to the song Hot Rod Race.
Yes. Yep.
He even references it at the beginning, although the version everybody's familiar with by Commander Cody, he mangles it because he says the Fords and the Lincolns were setting the pace, but the original lyric is Fords and Mercuries were setting the pace because those are the cars that are racing in Hot Rod Race.
But that probably wouldn't make sense because that Lincoln motor was really souped up. Made those
but he's got the Lincoln motor. The cars in the song Hot Rod Race is told from the perspective of a guy who's out for a drive with his wife and his brother-in-law. And a Mercury, which is a slightly heavier Ford with a slightly more powerful engine, so kind of evenly matched to them, pulls out to pass him, and he takes this as a challenge to race, and they're clipping along on some empty stretch of California highway in the high desert. And they get into this race where they just go on, and neither can pass the other. And so they're basically waiting for somebody to brake when all of a sudden a kid in a Model A comes out of nowhere and blows them both off like they're standing still. And so the story of Hot Rod Lincoln picks up at that point, and he says, I was the kid in the Model A. And then he goes on to reveal that the Model A is packing a Lincoln V12 under the hood, not a hopped up four banger. Although the Commander Cody version says V8, not V12, but the actual original Hot Rod Lincoln's song is about a V12, and there was a V12 powered Model A coupe running around that purported to be the inspiration for that song.
Yeah.
Now I can make this rock and roll. I can make this country, however, but rolling out the lot, hear the V6 roar, not you mama's Camry anymore. Got that gloss black trim, red seat belts tight, every stoplight's looking like a green light. It's a Camry TRD, got that track day speed, 4 doors deep, but it's still got teeth. Daily driver with a rebel streak, pushing past life limits of your midweek. I got like 6 or 7 more verses.
This is the
Oh my
AI TRD song.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lowered stance, she hugs the road. Dual exhaust, single bowl. No turbo, no fake sound here. Just raw 6-cylinder Frontier. From the office lot to the canyon curves, it's the sleeper with some nerves. Leather trim, that suede inside. She's got manners. She likes to glide. It's a Camry TRD. It's got that track day speed, 4 doors deep, but it's still got teeth. Daily driver with a rebel streak, pushing past the limits of your midweek. Yeah, it's not just A to B, it's style, growl, and legacy. Camry.
Is it growl?
TRD.
Wow. I mean, that's
Wow. Put that through the big-
Jason, you got to join the show at the beginning. I gave the whole
already talked about
Ozzy
Ozzy.
thing, and Crazy Train is one of the best driving songs ever. You're going to have to go back and listen to the beginning of the show. Notice the graphics. We got Ozzy on here. We got the Ozzy font. We got the music and the rock and roll.
Mhm.
You know, the first podcast I ever did was Cars, Cigars, and Guitars. It's about music
Isn't
and
that
cars.
that's a country song, isn't it? Oh no, that's guitars, Cadillacs, hillbilly music.
Yeah.
And what about the cars like are the songs from like Johnny Cash where we're shipping a Jeep home piece by piece?
No, that's a Cadillac. The
Oh,
psychobilly
built a
Cadillac,
Cadillac.
one piece at a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know the song that I think gets overlooked. There's 2 songs that I think get overlooked a lot, as far as songs that are about cars, are "Highway Star" by Deep Purple and "Radar Love" by Golden Earring.
Oh yeah, Radar Love. Yeah, definitely.
And then another song that I think is a great driving song, but isn't actually about cars at all, is "Telstar," which is about technically, I guess, a communications satellite, but it's just got a driving kind of vibe to it. It's like
And who
the
is
song
that
of interstate travel. Telstar. It's by the Tornadoes with 2 R's, I think.
I don't know that one.
Yeah,
That-
oh, you'd recognize it if you heard it. Da, 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 da. I hope we don't get canceled for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Came out in '62, right after we launched Telstar One, which was the first like AT&T satellite communications thing. But it sounds like, you know, an ode to the interstate highway. I mean, you could just picture like Mercury Turnpike cruisers and such flowing through the interstate highway system in Eisenhower's America. Although Eisenhower was out of office, basically.
Jason's
the idea.
admitting I do have a sexy singing voice because he's going to need a cigarette.
I was kind of wondering which way he was going with that. Yeah, that comment. Like, if John keeps going on about the camera, I'm going to need a cigarette. Which way is it? It's just
Hey,
that.
Hey, it says something in
In
here
the Ben
about,
Affleck sitting on the park bench staring into oblivion kind of way.
you know, it's got that gloss black trim and that red seat belt's tight. I mean, it's sexy, all right.
Can you really get a red
I
seatbelt in the TRD? I mean, that might be worth it alone.
Well, it talks about it being lower than that because everybody's got to funky up their TRD.
Yeah. But I think some of those like special Camry TRDs and all that, I think you can do the like colored seat belt with, you know, stuff like that. I think there's some of those options.
Can you get a clutch pedal in?
I'm sure you can
That's
do what.
probably a fake one. You probably get in there.
Bad boys, spring-loaded clutch pedal.
All of a sudden, I've got Toyota's special wishes department, like Porsche. You want red seatbelts? Yeah, we'll permit you to do that. They'll only be an extra $1,400.
I'm waiting for the email to No Driving Gloves from Toyota's legal team. You've created a song with the TRD registered trademark. We need to fine you for using the TRD name.
Yeah, the AI already generated that. It's already out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think sometimes we look at the songs of the past, and I personally, I think there's one that I really, really like right now that is a car centric song. Okay, it's not necessarily about a car, right? It's not Little GTO, it's not 409, it's not buried in or steeped in that automotive, like this is car, but I'm a big fan of Eric Church. I don't know if you guys know who Eric Church is. Country music singer, kind of rock and roll country, if you will, and considered kind of one of those outlaws. The new version of, say, like
he's got the big wing on top.
What?
Oh no, those are Outlaw sprint cars. Never mind.
Yeah, not Outlaws. No. I'm talking like Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Outlaw of
I was thinking Rod Emery.
Sure.
Just
yeah, but he has a song called Russian Roulette from one of his previous albums. I think it's on the album called Heart, and it's just entitled Russian Roulette. But the lyrics in the song, he's playing Russian roulette with the radio. So the whole song is him driving, basically kind of like in this existential crisis, let's say, trying to get away from things, get away from life. And he's driving, and he's literally just talking about driving down the open road, playing Russian roulette with the radio, and, keep spinning the dial. And basically, like, it's kind of funny because I think a lot of us do it. At least I do it. Like I'll kind of, if I'm on a long road trip on my own somewhere, I'll just kind of like hit the seek button and see what it lands on, and see if I know the words to the song that's on. Just kind of flip, and it's Russian roulette with the radio, right? You're flipping it, and you're seeing if you can jump right in with the lyrics. And it's probably one of the more modern songs that are out right now that I really enjoy listening to in a car. And him talking about this road trip and playing Russian roulette, and when he starts to lose the signal, he calls ahead to the next station and requests a song. And it's just it's got a really great just storyline, and the way he approaches telling the story is fantastic.
I'm impressed he knows the phone numbers to the radio stations.
Right.
Well, you just ask your phone, but it gives me a new idea. You ever do the like cruises or something with your car clubs or car groups where you drive to a stop sign and then you flip a coin, heads you turn right, tails you go left and go through. Now you do that same thing, but every time you make that turn, you hit seek and you listen to the next radio station until you get to the next turn. And
boy, that could be miserable. Some of the radio stations I've stumbled on.
Yeah, I mean, you'd all of a sudden hit a country station or a rock and roll station if you're a country fan. Or
oh my God. Hey, Eric Church might be on a little Russian roulette. You'd be good.
Yeah, I'll have to seek that one out. All right, I got one you probably haven't heard of. That's both car centric and a good listen. Flint City Shake It. Flint, as in the city where the Buicks are made. And it's about the city of Flint, which happens to be where my dad and my grandmother were both born. So I have a soft spot for it myself. And it's by a guy named Justin Townes Earl. And
I know
it is.
I know that name.
Yeah, he was from Flint. So, I mean, you and I might have encountered him at some point. And he's our age. Well, he would be our age. He's dead, unfortunately. But it's a real good, like 50s style R&B song, all about what a great town Flint is, and the refrain is Detroit rocks, but Flint City rolls.
I think I've heard that song.
It's worth a listen. I also have a really bad disco song on 45 about Flint that I've only listened to once, but I would be willing to crack open again if you sometime want to hear it.
Well, you need to just crack it open and record it, send it to us so we can listen to it.
Jason mentions the latest song about a car is Car Song by the Ataris.
The Ataris.
It was released this year.
Wow.
One of my favorite car songs, of course, is going to be Mix-a-Lot's last release, Cars, C-A-R-Z, back in 2012.
Does every song by the Cars count as a car song?
You know, it does beg the question, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Well, and here's the thing. Supposedly 38 Special is named after a Buick and not after a pistol cartridge.
No? I'll have to go back
What
and-
about REO Speedwagon? Are they named after a wagon?
No, they're named
named
after
after a
the
truck.
Rio Speedwagon truck.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a pair of headlights off a Rio Speedwagon.
Hmm.
But that's the only difference is that the truck company is pronounced like Rio, like R-I-O, but it's spelled R-E-O, and it's after Ransom E. Olds' initials.
Yeah, there
Mhm.
used
Because it
to
was-
be the largest REO museum used to be just outside of McPherson, Kansas. When I was in college there, they sold or auctioned everything off a few years later.
I've been to the
Yes.
I've been to the Ransom Olds Museum in Lansing, which
I was
is
just going to say, there's the Oldsmobile Museum in Lansing. Yep.
That's an excellent one. And sadly, perhaps ironically, Ransom Olds' mansion was torn down to build the interstate bypass right through downtown Lansing, which passes by both the Olds factory and where the Rio factories were. And there was a major Art Deco skyscraper in downtown Lansing that was once called the Olds Tower and has since been renamed since Olds is no longer a factor in that community.
Mm-hmm.
But Olds have inspired a fair number of songs. Really good one. Super 88 by Link Ray, about a couple guys who pulled a some kind of hold up in Nevada and are trying to flee the state in their Super 88. And it's all about how the song is the car is the perfect getaway car, but there's kind of a twist ending. Link Ray is the guy behind Rumble, the famous instrumental from the 50s, but he had a lot of talent.
We're going to do this in the middle of the show as opposed to the very end. We just want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button, hit that alert or bell down below, ring that bell, get notified every time we decide to go live. I don't know. There's
Having
somewhere-
the audience.
Middle of the
up-
show.
up-
We're really getting close to the end of the show.
well, buy us a coffee, everything. That's
Okay.
going on. I'm going to wait. Oh, I just lost my screen, but I got my race deck dealership. Get your race deck flooring from Hustle and
John?
Heritage.
John. We can't see it. It's
You get
literally,
the,
it's
you
just
get
the
the
background.
highlights. You get the highlights.
It literally is just showing the background. It's green screening.
And
Well,
I
not
brought
disappear.
yellow.
That's
I
about all you
grabbed
did.
the green tile and I brought yellow.
Well, the yellow's working as a green screen, so yeah. Sorry.
There's got to be a button I can push.
I kind of see the texture.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of the diamond plating. So while John's trying to figure that out, I'm going to throw. Oh, there we go. You'd see the green screen. You'd see the yellow tile. Look at that. There we go. Yellow tile.
You decide to get that through me, I'll give you 10% off.
Ooh. So I only get 10%, or no, I get 90% of the tile. You cut a little section out.
That's how it works.
So, okay, I want to throw one out just because it's probably one of my favorite car songs. And you wouldn't think that it should be a car song that ever existed. Dracula by Rob Zombie.
Oh, that's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Both for driving and because it's about a car.
Well, it's Rob Zombie. It's good anyway.
Yeah. Just that probably is like one of the utmost epic driving songs, just to like really hammer out to. And yeah.
It's interesting the associations of cars and Halloween and things. And Jan Dean had a song called Surfing Hers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. Of course, then you got things like Dead Man's Curve
Yeah, that's
about
kind of-
wrecking a car.
yeah, a little bleak. I always thought. Like
Well,
I was
Dead
amazed how
Man's-
popular that song is.
Dead Man's Curve's about a real place, though.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, in so many towns, like it is about the real, the probably most famous Dead Man's Curve out in California. But like even where in the area I grew up in, there was a curve that a lot of people knew as called Dead Man's Curve because so many kids and young adults had died there street racing on this curve that, you know, it just kind of the moniker stuck of that's Dead Man's Curve.
It's something I think every city or high school kid can relate to, because I think every city's got one of those curves that goes off a cliff or terminates with whoever decided to put telephone poles at the apex or of a corner. Little off center either way. But,
Yeah.
there's an aiming point, John. Tells you where the apex is.
Yeah. It's like the carousel at the Nürburgring. You're supposed to you can't see anything, so you just aim for the pine tree, and then you.
Yeah, it's
How you
it's great. I'm teaching Jasper to drive. We have a diminishing radius curve on North Pommel Road, so like he's learning that level of car control, taking this lumbering hay wagon and F-250 around this diminishing radius turn as it also changes elevation.
We almost made it through the episode, but Jason said something that has sparked disgust in me.
Oh no.
He's commenting about he said, speaking of McPherson, did I see the Daytona donated by Richard Lindquist that is now suspended in the atrium? They built a brand new
Student center.
yes. Well, it's not really a student center because it has all the college offices and everything in it.
Oh
too.
yeah.
And one end of the museum, or one end of it, they suspended a Ferrari Daytona, which was donated 3 years ago, maybe. And the other end, they suspended an MGA twin cam, I think it is. So they did suspend two cars. And they say they're going to rotate them out. As I said to one of the instructors there, the initial post I saw about it, it goes against everything the car or the school stands for as far as a restoration program, in my opinion. It's a car. Hanging from the ceiling is not the way to display that piece of art. It's to use it, not to hang it from the ceiling. It's wrong. I don't mind cars as art, but in that place where we're talking about preserving, restoring, teaching, that cars are art and usable objects, to all of a sudden make one a static display just doesn't sit right with me. It's very, very disappointing. But then again, it's probably safer up there than anywhere else on campus. Nobody's going to scratch it or wreck it or dent it. But no, I saw it, and I totally disagree with them displaying it. Plus, it's also a very obtrusive mount, the way it's displayed.
I was going to say, coming from the exhibits design side of things, and I've seen the photos of the cars, I have a lot of questions. But that's for another show because we're talking about music here. So,
yes.
Jason, music comments only, sir. So,
What song best reflects your rage about this Ferrari hanging from a ceiling?
I don't know.
He's going off the rails.
No, it's not Crazy Train. For some reason, Kickstart My Heart is what popped into my mind. Well, that reminds me. What about does anybody remember Ace Frehley in Rock Soldiers, where he sings about his tragic accident when the devil sat beside him in DeLorean's automobile?
Ooh, I don't remember that one.
I don't know that one.
After Ace was thrown out of Kiss because of his drinking problems, he had he might have been in Kiss. He was driving a DeLorean drunk and crashed it and almost killed him. And this whole song's about him and crashing that and surviving that ordeal and becoming sober. But I just remember that line. And the devil sat beside me in DeLorean's automobile. It said, "Hey, Furley, Furley, there's a life out here for me to steal."
That's like the whiskey bottle, brand new car, oak tree, you're in my way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or my Maserati does 185. I lost my license. And now I can drive. Yeah.
Which I always say is one of my two favorite songs. Life's Been Good.
I love Joe Walsh.
And Everyday Ordinary Guy by Joe Walsh. Two completely polar opposite songs, but I love them both. And doesn't he sing about his dad's Dodge or something in Ordinary Average Guy?
That sounds right. It's been a long time since I listened to that song. I'm going to have to look it up after we get out. I remember the song, but I haven't heard it in a long time.
And I'm not confusing that with the B-52s and the Chrysler As Big as a Whale.
But can we all agree that
probably
Baby Got Baby Got Back is the greatest car song ever? I mean,
it's about a business coupe.
No, she's got going like a turbo vet.
Oh,
I'm probably more of a Testarossa or Benzo guy if we're talking Mix-a-Lot there. If we discount his song car.
Right. Fine.
Tinted back window with a bubble in the middle. My hoopty. Mix-a-Lot's got a Benz.
Oh Lord, won't you buy me?
Oh, I can't stand that woman.
A Mercedes Benz. All my friends drive Porsches.
I must make amends.
No Janis Joplin for you, huh?
Oh no, I cannot stand Janis Joplin. And the stupid thing is, I actually have that song on my phone and my iTunes bullshit. But I cannot stand Janis Joplin.
Well, good. This isn't a show about Janis Joplin. It's a show about music and cars.
Yeah, and that we need to discount her because she doesn't do music.
So what is we'll end on this. What is the greatest car song ever written?
Car song, driving song, or
yeah, we're talking about songs to drive to or songs about cars.
Songs about cars.
See, I have to go with, it's my favorite song, so it's got to be the greatest car song about cars. It's "I Get Around" by the Beach Boys, because it's about the joy of cruising and being out on a summer night, carefree with your friends, driving a cool car.
Good selection.
I'm stuck on two, and I'm trying to really decide. It's going to be by ZZ Top.
Oh,
we didn't even talk about ZZ Top. Wow.
Yeah, wow. I feel ashamed.
I had to throw them out there. Just got paid.
No, we did that intentionally. We're going to have a whole show on ZZ
The
Top.
whole ZZ Top episode. Billy Gibbons, special guest. Yeah.
We've had Bud Moeller on the show, and he's very close friends with the whole band, except for the one that he's still friends with, but you can't speak with. But so we're one degree of separation from having ZZ Top on the show. And for that matter, he's business partners with Mick Fleetwood. So we're 1 degree of separation from having him, and 2 degrees of separation from having Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, which, by the way, have a new album or a re-release of their album, which was pre-Fleetwood Mac.
So which one used Fleetwood and which one was Mac?
Well, I think it's pretty easy to pick out which one's Fleetwood.
And that I would be Mac. I'm the Mac Daddy. Can't do too much more, OB.
All right, Derek. So what's your candidate for the best car song?
Wait, well, I asked the question. John still has to answer. He
Oh,
got
okay.
us diverted on ZZ Top.
Yeah, I distracted. I said it during the show, and my favorite car song is Mix-a-Lot Cars.
All right. And we all know for Derek, it's Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go Rascal Flatts. I would go actually, I do enjoy the song Life is a Highway. It's a great song, but it has to be Chris Ledoux's cover of it. I prefer the Chris Ledoux version. I think it's the best by far.
The real hard question is who did the best version of Route 66?
You know, I've never really been a fan of Route 66, the song.
No?
It's not
Overexposed?
bad. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, I don't, when it comes on, I'm like, I'm not,
I couldn't name that song in all the notes.
I think it's the Nat
probably
King Cole
name
version.
one group that sang it.
Bobby Troop wrote it. I'm a fan. You may not know this. I'm a fan. Bobby Troop wrote it. Probably the best known version is Nat King Cole, and I think that's probably the best. Chuck Berry did a good version that you can hear on the Cars soundtrack. And then Asleep at the Wheel did a really good version and has also done a kind of mediocre version. And I can't find the good version on Spotify, unfortunately. But Asleep at the Wheel, even their mediocre version is pretty good. So, but yeah, Nat King Cole, if I had to just pick one.
Okay.
What an interesting statement by
right
Jason. He talks about Frehley's comment, which is where the Ace Frehley song was that I talked about. He said probably the only song he knows all the words to. That and all the Violent Femmes song. What an interesting group to know all the words to.
The Violent Femmes.
Great group, but
Ah.
I learned about them back when I had my Isuzu convertible, my 85 Escort, and I dated Chris. So go back to the beginning. We got to wrap it around to the beginning of the show. So,
Boy.
shall I serenade us out with Daily Driver Track Soul, the Toyota Camry TRD anthem again?
I mean,
All right.
probably not. But
No,
Have a good night, everybody.
I'll throw
I'm
this
sorry.
out. Little GTO is a pretty good song,
It is.
coming from a former GTO owner.
Okay. Get off your ass, burn some gas, because we need to be out.